Good morning. Good morning. I seem dark. I don't know why. Okay, that's a little. I don't know. I done moved around. Okay. Good morning. Good morning. How are you? I see you got your light. Oh no! What'd you do, sir? Well, it done got dark outside. It look like it's about to storm over here. So yeah. Saturday storms are, I guess, in the works for today. How was your week? How's everything? Good. Productive. Very productive. Probably more productive than I thought. Good morning, Renita. Good morning. Welcome. I don't know who's in Clubhouse. I don't see anybody. Okay, good morning over there too. All right. Let's see. Everything's everything. Let's get this puppy started. All right. Well, welcome to our Saturday morning tea, where we discuss health information, news, education, certification tips, entrepreneurship, the revenue cycle at large. And as you come in, don't forget to hit the thumbs up or like button. I am Clarice Warner, the Girl with the Pearls, the founder and senior education director of the Professional Reimbursement Network, LLC, where coding education is key. PRN is a healthcare compliance consultancy located in Cincinnati, Ohio, that specializes in revenue cycle and regulatory compliance in education. Now, before we get into the nitty gritty of our topics today, let me ask you, do you know what it takes to be? We're going to ask a whole bunch of questions about coding today, but do you know what it takes to be a certified marketable medical coder? Well, before I introduce my co host, let me give you or share with you some information on a free 99 email course on the 5 steps to become a certified marketable medical coder. Are you interested in medical coding, but not sure where to start and scared of wasting time and resources? Let me help you with the right steps to become a certified marketable medical coder. Learn more at bit.ly/5stepscoder. Okay, I'm sorry. Y'all caught me every time. If you are joining us and in Clubhouse, feel free to click the link at the top of the page if you're interested in getting more information about the 5 steps to become a certified marketable medical coder. YouTube and Facebook and LinkedIn friends, check the video description for the link. I promise you, if you scroll down, it's in there. So joining me today is my co-host, Mr. Jesse, the registered trademark. Put some respect on his name, the coding nurse. Sir, introduce yourself and tell the folks all about you.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Jesse. I live in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I have been a nurse for 30 years, and I transitioned into HIM in 2014. In 2020, created the company, the Coding Nurse LLC, where I help nurses and other people in healthcare with a clinical background to transition into the wonderful world of HIM.
And how's all that going?
Pretty good.
Yes. I see 30 years in nursing. Wow. That's a long time.
It is.
I got a child that'll be 30 years this month. That's a long time. All right. Woo. And look at all that knowledge and experience that you bring to the table with 30 years of nursing. Wow. Okay, I'm sorry. I just got all caught up and emotional and sentimental all at once. I'm probably sleepy today. I'll tell you, I'll be the first to tell you that. Okay. Before we jump in, let me remind you that you can join in and add to the conversation. And we encourage you to jump in and add to the conversation. Don't be shy. Your opinion matters and is always welcomed here. Good, bad, indifferent. We want to hear from you. We believe in dialogue and conversation. Yes, we communicate information to you, but we also are interested in the response, and we're interested in how did that hit your ear, and what made it. What were your thoughts regarding the information that we presented? So please join in on the conversation. It's okay, and we have fun doing it. If you have a question, the only thing I ask is that you type a Q in front of the question so that we know it's an actual question for us, and then we won't miss it and we can answer it. All righty, all righty. So let's get into our church announcements. Church announcements. Somebody said they can't hear you. Carmen, can you hear? Carmen said, Carmen was saying she can hear you. Carmen, let me know if you can hear her. We'll check, Carmen, or we'll see. Okay. Oh wait, can I get the banner? Announcement. This is time for the church announcement. You hear that music? You hear that organ? That sweet, sweet organ. Church announcements. Okay. Mr. Jesse, did you have any church announcements this week? Okay, no church announcements. Even those of you who are joining us, if you have church announcements and you want to place them in the chat, feel free to do so. I'm see. This is going to be in here. I don't know if that's looking in. I don't know. Okay. All right. We'll play around in a minute. Okay, so church announcements real quick. Let me get this out the way. Banner removed. I need to get rid of the music, but let's go. All right. So church announcements. I have two. The first one is the ONC final rule implementing information blocking penalties came out this week. And yeah, they want to make so the rule established the penalties that were created by the 21st Century Cures Act. And if the OIG determines that an individual or entity has committed information blocking, they may be subjected to up to I know I butchered that whole sentence, but they may be subject up to, I'm reading this and that's how they said it. And I was like, that doesn't sound right to me, to a $1 million penalty per violation. Now, the new rule, there's no additional guidance or rulemaking as it pertains to information blocking requirements. This final rule just talks to what the penalties are. And so, yeah, that came out. I think it's like, is it 120 page reading for your for the downtime in your free spare time, I guess. I don't know. But my understanding is it's very, very lengthy. The OIG actually has kind of a fact sheet out there. So if you want, I think I posted it if not, I'll make sure I post it in the description box. I thought I did, but if I didn't, I'll post it in the description box. And they have kind of a handy dandy little the investigation process that the OIG will use to determine whether or not someone did not follow the rules and guidance related to information blocking. So that came out this week. And then the other thing that I wanted to share with you all is around ICD-11. So you already know, or hopefully you know, ICD-11 is in the works. It's out there in these streets. But it's not in the US streets. It's out there in other countries' streets. And partly because, we're special. We're special over here in these states. And we have our own adaptation of the ICD. Well, I'll start with ICD-10. Well, we've done it for years. We've had our own adaptation, which is the clinical modification. And so that clinical modification is used only in the States. Something that, and don't get me wrong, other states or other countries are special as well. They have their kind of modifications too. They have their kind of modifications too. But there's a lot that goes into the clinical modification process. And so much so that the National Committee on Vital and Health Statistics has recently posted a meeting and request for information. There's going to be a meeting if you're interested. I did post a link, I believe, in the description box, but there's going to be a meeting held on Thursday, August 3rd. I think it's from 10:30 or 10 a.m. to 5:30. I also saw 9 a.m., so I'm not sure if they've changed the time or what, but anywhere from 9 to 5. Eastern Daylight Savings Time. I don't know what that D means. But anyway, to kind of talk about, and it's a virtual meeting. Well, it's a virtual meeting as well as an in-person meeting. If it's you can register. You have to register if you join virtually, because I believe it's via Zoom. If you go in person, I think the recommendation is that you register. You don't have to, but when you go to any meeting in person, particularly in Washington, D.C., which is where this meeting will be held, the security is tight. So there's a whole process with security. So you want to make sure if you plan to attend in person that you make time for all of the wonderful things that happens as it relates to going into the meeting. So one of the things that has happened is they're considering the clinical modification piece and trying to determine if it's even necessary. So they're trying to get some information. So this roundtable meeting is to pretty much get some data, gather information, and identify any gaps currently available for analysis and policy decisions on the U.S.'s approach to support adoption and implementation for ICD-11 for morbidity. Also, they want to enable coordination of public and private entities that may affect ICD-11 integration into U.S. health information environments by obtaining broad stakeholder input on studies or assessments the HHS should undertake to inform the transition and on what timeline. So, so they put together an RFI, and that input received at the roundtable will inform the work group's findings to be provided to the full committee. It's a lot. So if you think back and remember like what happened during the transition from ICD-9 to ICD-10 CMs, it was a lot. It was, I remember folks jumping ship like, you know what? I'm about to retire. I'm out. And so I think they're trying to better prepare. I think they're trying to better prepare for what's happening with ICD-11. Remember, ICD-11 is the International Classification of Diseases, is the global standard for health data, clinical documentation, and statistical aggregation. It provides a common language for recording, reporting, and monitoring diseases, allowing the world to compare and share data in a consistent and standard way among hospitals, regions, and countries, and over periods of time. It facilitates the collection and storage of data for analysis and evidence-based decision-making by enabling systemic recording, reporting, analysis, interpretation, and comparison of mortality and morbidity data. It also allows countries to count and identify their most pressing health issues using an up-to-date and clinically relevant classification system. Governments assign ICD-11 codes to health conditions and accidents so data can be used to design effective public health policies and measure their impacts, or so that clinicians can use the data for recording encounters with patients in a standard way. So the request for information addresses the potential use of ICD-11 for morbidity coding in the U.S. They're welcoming responses from industry stakeholders, interested individuals, and organizations, or any members of the public in advance of the August 3rd expert roundtable. So you can send questions into them if you wish. Some of the things that they're looking for and we'll discuss what would be the benefits of implementing ICD-11 for morbidity in your setting or organization. What information or research will organizations need in order to inform assessments of costs, benefits, implementation approaches, communications, and outreach regarding the transition to ICD-11? What considerations affect the impact of ICD-11 on clinical documentation, payment processes, including risk adjustment, public health, population health, or research? What unique U.S. coding or terminology considerations are essential? For example, coding or terminology related to community health, social determinants of health, essential human needs, sexual orientation, gender identity and expression, obesity, external cause of injury, and information about mental, behavioral, or neurodevelopmental disorders, including alignment with the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, 5th edition, or DSM-5. How should HHS implement ICD-11 in the U.S. for morbidity coding? The World Health Organization recommends establishing a national center for ICD-10 or ICD-11 implementation. What entity should be responsible for coordinating overall national implementation of ICD-11 for morbidity coding, and how should the implementation be managed? ICD-11 uses an open process in which the World Health Organization encourages requests for updates and changes, thus eliminating the main drivers of national clinical modifications. What entity should be responsible for coordinating U.S. requests for updates or changes to ICD-11, and how should this process be managed? What resources, tools, or support will your organization need for implementation? What kinds of technical resources, guidance, or tools should the U.S. federal government make available? What workforce planning, or training will your organization need to support implementation? What are your organization's requirements for ICD-11 mapping to other coding systems and terminologies, including value sets? And lastly, what other operational impacts of ICD-11 adoption and implementation should HHS consider? So yes, they're putting together this work group. They're put out the RFI for information. Some of those questions are the questions that they're looking for. And yeah, so that's what's going on in the world of ICD-11. Mr. Jesse, did you have any comments?
No.
My thing is, so ICD-11 has already been implemented in other countries. So why are we always behind? I mean, if it's already out there, you already know what the framework has been out there for years, at least a couple of years before it was implemented. So I don't understand. Like, I feel like we so reactive. This is something that could have occurred either alongside or like right after they implemented ICD-11 in other countries. Let's start getting the ball rolling. I think so. Oftentimes it's so much resistance to the new codes that I guess they think, oh, well, it'll go away. And then when it feels like, oh, well, I guess it's not going away, I guess we now need to do something. Then we go into, okay, let's rush and push in whatever mode. I don't know. It's crazy to me. I don't understand. You know me, I like to be proactive, not reactive. Okay, let's see. Good morning, Crafty Coder. She said good morning. She said, Carmen said she could hear you. I mean, hear me, but can't hear you. I don't know what's going on LinkedIn. Right. Had to retest and all. That was a critical, like, end of the world critical. Yeah, right. People was like, I'm out. Like, this is the Y2K moment in health information when we went over to ICD-10. And I guess that's what's it's maybe feeling like to folks but it's gonna come. I mean, it's not, I mean, it's quicker than it had been. It was several decades, years from ICD-9 to ICD-10, but yeah, you knew it was coming at some point. But okay. Yeah, like, really? That's what we're doing? Okay, so those were the church announcements. So for those of you who are just joining us today, we are asking the question, do you think like a coder? But before we get to that, I want to talk a little bit about this article that I saw about Epic and Nuance to bring GPT that's 4, which is the whole AI, artificial intelligence, powered documentation to EHRs. Now, when I saw this, I said, well, we done talked about this. And it was a real short, sweet article by Naomi Diaz. And she just pretty much introduced that Epic systems and Epic is not alone. There are other systems that are doing something similar. They are partnering with Nuance, which is a clinical documentation software company owned by Microsoft. Look at this. Now, you hear all these names and how all these folks are all in the mix. They're going to integrate GPT-4 powered clinical documentation technology into its EHR software. So Nuance is part of Dragon. And I know everybody's heard, well, most people probably have heard of Dragon. Dragon's Ambient Experience Express, which is an AI-powered clinical documentation application that uses the GPT-4. This will be integrated into Epic. And Nuance released this information via a press release last week. The integration will allow Epic users to draft clinical notes automatically and securely from the exam room or via a telehealth encounter for immediate clinical review and completion after each patient visit. The application, which they're calling DAX Express, which is the Dragon Ambient Experience Express, for Epic, will be available in private preview this summer. So I guess they're going to kind of do a test run and see, maybe, I don't know. It says, but the aim of the partnership is to help hospitals and health systems reduce administrative burdens for their providers. Okay. And so while I saw that, I also got another little article that came out from Noah Schwartz that asks, or just states, let providers be providers. Health IT execs on what they want from their EHR. And so they had a conversation with Becker's Health IT, and they told them that they want what they want from their EHR is less time in the EHR for their practitioners. They said, I wish EHRs would focus functionality on keeping the clinician out of the EHR, needing to manually document every little component and navigate through the system with multiple clicks, and instead be able to auto-generate input or be able to anticipate where in the record the clinician needs to navigate to. I said, okay. Now, she believes, and this was from Kathleen Zaski, who is an RN and vice president of IT at Reno, Nevada-based Renown Health. She believes this type of functionality will require more advanced artificial intelligence to be embedded within the EHR and more integration of tools clinicians utilize today. And so this is kind of ahead of or in line with the Microsoft partnership for GPT-4 AI technology in their EHRs. Let's see. Someone from UNC Health said the GPT tools could reduce pajama time, which is time spent by physicians answering patient questions within my chart by leveraging AI to draft the answers. I thought that was very interesting. It also says we'll use it to help physicians and nurses spend less time at the keyboard and to help them investigate data in more conversational, easy to use ways. That was from Seth Haynes, who is the Senior Vice President of Research and Development at Epic. They just feel like EHR should, quote, get out of the way of our clinicians and become a frictionless value add solution. But most of the clinician's time within the EHR is spent dealing with billing and revenue cycle management processes. So that piqued my curiosity right there. And then Mr. Brown said, he's from HCA North Carolina Division, says that EHR should be more patient-centered instead of revenue cycle management centered. And he says, simply let providers be providers. Realistically, I think a modern EHR should be able to limit the number of clicks and amount of typing. Oh, okay. That came from another person, the CIO of North County Healthcare. And they said they're getting closer with some of the latest AI and voice recognition contenders, but a great feature would be to accurately predict and automate the provider's behavior and leave them to care for the patient and review the work of the EHR. They're looking for the EHR to enable workflow through integrated device and ambient voice capabilities. Artificial intelligent voice assistant that can generate clinician notes through ambient listening. And while we're picking kind of on Epic, Epic isn't the only one. Cerner is also partnering with the FDA and John Snow Labs to create an AI-based tools that can extract clinical notes from the EHR. So, yeah, Mr. Jesse.
You know, I'm really just, I really am. Because, you know, if you do your job.
Okay, you're going in and out on my end.
Because I my headphone, but you sound a little choppy.
You do.
I don't want to know. But
if you do both the StreamYard and the Clubhouse, do you hear feedback or can you do both?
Well, no, I definitely get feedback. Oh.
You do?
Yeah. It'll be like now I just, but if I unmute and
because I do both. I got both of them unmuted.
Let me try.
Hello? Is there?
I hear echo though.
See, because I have to mute in StreamYard.
Okay. Okay. Go ahead.
So I think if you don't want to do your job as a provider, do it. Like you cannot automate way out of it. And all of this comes back to education in it, right? In a way, get rid of bad jobs, training people to properly. Doesn't matter how. And they're trying to get away. Everything that's about the burden, the burden. Well, if you don't want to document and you don't want to accurately reflect what you're doing to patients, then don't be a doctor. Like what else? I mean, what are we supposed to do? Then you want to automate, and then the thing with data and then review. You, I just don't understand like what the problem is. That's just like saying, well, you can go to school to be a nurse, but we're going to have this computer go do everything for you, or then you just review what it. That's not what a nurse does. That's not what a doctor does. Now, I'm all for using technology to improve processes, to improve outcomes, and to make it better. But it's not supposed to replace what it is you do. If you don't want to do what it is you do something else.
Mm. Period. Exactly. I don't know. I'm like you. I see the need. I've used AI in a lot of the different processes that I have in my business, and it's been fabulous. Um, it takes some extra steps because there's some validation that has to go on with a lot of the AI stuff happening now, um, which is fine. But it gives. Oftentimes, I'm looking for just the framework. So I'm looking for building blocks. I'm looking for things to build upon. So it's helpful in that manner. I don't use it to be the end all be all of everything I create because again, at least the tools that I've used, there's some flaws there. I'm concerned about the biases, especially in healthcare and documenting healthcare patient encounters from an AI perspective. I mean, hopefully, as they're piloting these things, they're taking all of those things into account and in consideration. I know it says it's looking through the patient's chart, but you're looking through the patient's chart through the lens of the provider as they've documented in the past regarding that patient. Um, that's if you have a patient that has a steady doctor or they see the same provider on a regular basis. You have a lot of groups of people, pockets of people that go to clinics and they may see whoever is on duty that day. and it may vary from encounter to encounter, visit to visit. So what does that voice look like for AI? Because now you're getting multiple voices or multiple people who may align, and if they do, fabulous. If not, what weighs out? And so to me, that is part of the thing that, and I know they have to go back in and review it and make sure that it speaks to their voice or speaks to what the encounter actually was. But to me, I mean, that's going to take time too. So at some point, will you say, oh my God, I don't have time to now review what it says. Can you make, and I think ultimately it's probably going to get to, can you just make something that'll just do it so we don't have to? And to your point, this is part of your job, documenting these encounters. And while the revenue cycle component is important because this is what we use in order for you to get paid. As a public health professional, I'm also more concerned, or even more so concerned about the data and accurately recording the diagnoses, accurately recording those your clinical thoughts and your decision making as it relates to those diagnoses and the different interventions or the different treatments that you feel are necessary related to that. Were they helpful? Were they useful? That's the kind of data that we kind of look for in determining, is this something that has worked long term over different groups of people that maybe we need to provide the education for them. Maybe we need to push this information out. That's all part of what we get the data from you. So if you're not documenting or if you're not doing that part of your job, we're out here, we left out here. just out here.
And it just all comes back to if you have to review and you have to edit what something else does, why not just do it right yourself the first time?
Right.
You want to talk about a process, that's the process. Do it right the first time. You don't have to repeat it.
Exactly. Let's see. Good morning, Curious One. Good morning, Miss Vicky. She said facts. They said that's right. Crafty Coder says, I think it can help them make complete sentences, but that's about it. It says AI technology will always need a human perspective. Always. She agrees. Good morning, Tasha. AI does not have the ability to make judgment based on an individual's circumstances or outliers. Right. So you want them to do your work and be the end all be all, but then we, the patient consumer, are the guinea pigs at risk based on that information because you don't want to do it.
That's right.
Oh, she said, hey to my Florida neighbor. Okay. Yeah, so I don't know. Y'all, as we say, stay tuned. There is a lot to come as it relates to what's happening. I didn't know. I know that administrative burden is high on the priorities of our clinician friends. I was chuckling as they included. Well, this wasn't an AMA piece. Let me say that first, but how they included doctors and nurses in the fold in this particular article. Yes, Renita, you are absolutely correct. Everyone wants to do less and get more. I just think that's aligned in the healthcare field. I agree. And that's unfortunate. But I mean, I understand being efficient and putting together efficiencies to get the most bang out of your buck. I get that, but not necessarily doing less. You find efficient ways to do it. Is using AI an efficient way? I guess that's more to come on that. Again, I'm just concerned with some of the different things that I've heard related to that technology and how just using it in the healthcare realm. I'll leave it there. Okay, Mr. Jesse, because I hear the echo and stuff, I'm muting every time you talk. So you need to let me know if you want to say something so I can mute. All right. Okay. So yeah, that was that. All right. So it's people out here. Good morning. I see this Clubhouse folks. Mummy Picasso wants to know, is this going to take away jobs for coders? Providers should focus on their jobs being providers. Mr. Jesse, did you want to add what you said to her or him?
Yeah, I just said I don't think coding jobs will be eliminated. I just think they'll be changed.
I agree. I think it's just the perspective. And that was a great segue into what is coding anyway. That was a great segue. Sometimes I do things I don't even be thinking about it. And here we go. Look at that. That was just like butter. Okay, so so our question today is, do you think like a coder? So I saw an article by Lynn Kuhn, who is one of the kind of gurus in health information. She's been around for a long time. She is recognized as a go-to resource, subject matter expert. She really prides herself on the importance of accuracy and efficiency in coding. And so she wrote an article. She was also part of the original faculty for the ICD-10 train-the-trainer program as well. And so she's was part of AHIMA and all of the things. Okay, so she's written many, many, many articles, but this one caught my eye. And it's called What is Coding Anyway? So let me ask this question and see what your thoughts are. So it says you're reading a record, you see a medical term, you look in the index or check your quote cheat sheet and find a range of codes that contain that word. You read the description and find the one that is closest, probably, and you're done. Next record. So did that feel like coding to anybody? Did that feel like coding to you? I'll pause or mute.
I mean, I get what she was trying to say, but I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I would have. Yeah, I'm just confused. I'm not clear on what she was trying to do.
Yeah, it made me scratch my head several times as well. Well, she said she's not sure what that process is called, but it's definitely not coding, not at all. So then she goes into saying, you're reading a record, you see some medical terms, you look to the Merck Professional Edition and learn about the pathophysiology of this disease and how it affects the functioning of the body system. You comb through the record and decipher that strange combination of Latin words and provider terms that are used to describe what the provider saw or did. You look up more terms if necessary, and you finally get a picture in your mind of how, in this case, for this patient, things have gone wrong. Then you study the surgical intervention in the record and ask yourself a series of questions. What are they doing? And what's the goal of the procedure? How was the body part assessed? What was removed, modified, or added? What did they do to fix this patient's problem? You play the video of the procedure either in your head or find one online to determine the objective of the procedure. You look for parts of the story that are missing or unclear, parts that would affect how it is coded. You determine if a compliant query is necessary to get the answers you need. Then you fully understand the condition and what occurred and what will be able to tell the story to another person. You start to code it. You identify the pieces of documentation that support each code. You focus on what is important, not what is merely a detail. You know the objective of the procedure and each codable event as it occurred. You code it and then you are done. She said, it seems like a lot of work, but this is what is necessary to truly capture the diagnoses and procedures and translate them into a meaningful set of codes that capture the patient's complex story for data collection and billing. She said, let's just call this thinking like a coder for short. It's the analytical steps taken, the abundance of medical knowledge applied, the deciphering of a complex patient encounter, and then translating all of this into accurate, by the book, complete and defensible codes. Yes, there are many steps, and these steps can be quite slow when you are new to coding, but they definitely get faster, and the amount of research required for each case gets smaller as your internal collection of knowledge grows. But it never stops growing. Remember, we're in an industry with lifelong learning. You can learn something new with each case you code, and medical science changes. New conditions are discovered, and new procedures are developed constantly. A skilled coder with 30 plus years of experience will still need to stop occasionally and go back to do the basic research of understanding the patient's condition or what was done. Again, while these steps get faster, they still occur, each and every one of them. Although some of the steps may be almost automatic, they are still essential to the critical role of thinking like a coder. I thought that was very interesting and it piqued my curiosity. And I wanted to share with you and get your thoughts on exactly. So the crafty coder said, first of all, with that other stuff, I do agree with the slower in the beginning and gets better and faster over time. But she said, this is why some folks think it is so easy from that first description that we use, that's all you need to do in order to code. Mr. Jesse, you want to comment? Let me mute. Okay.
I just I agree with the second process, because it is very grueling in the beginning. Like you think, oh my God, it's going to take me forever. Well, it does take you forever to get a chart done, especially done correctly. But over time, it does get better. I mean, and you never stop learning, because first of all, like we all know that providers don't document exactly what we need, and um, I'm just grateful that we have in a lot of codes, in a lot of codes, we have specific not elsewhere classified, because that has saved me a many a day from these crazy behind, conditions that these providers diagnose that does not have a definitive code. So, it is a process, and I think that people try to circumvent the process, and that's when you get into trouble.
You are absolutely correct. You are absolutely correct. Renita says, it's way more than that. I'm learning daily, and it's not for everybody. Interpreting and narrative story, then translate with codes, verify, recheck, and recheck again. Then next record. Yes, yes. And I think exactly. Put some respect on this field. Exactly. It is a lot. And again, I think some folks have been sold just an unrealistic perspective on what coding is, what coding does. And again, that thought process, that was what intrigued me about this particular article. It is a thought process. You got to think about, oh, well, what happened? What is particularly, and this for me was very, very key in inpatient coding. But the same thing happens on outpatient and professional as well. Probably not, because you don't have like several days worth, but you have enough information that you can go back encounter, even though you're only coding for that particular encounter at that particular time, to get more information in the chart. And then I thought about, all of the risk adjustment work, all of the, because you got to go and make sure things have been evaluated in the documentation. I mean, all of those things require an additional thought process. You can't just look at the assessment, the diagnosis, or whatever the diagnosis is that the provider put down there. What condition or procedure that the heading of the procedure that they said that they provided, and then go generate some codes. No, that is not coding at all. And if folks are doing that, you killing folks. You're killing their reimbursement. You're killing folks on the back end and downstream, and you're probably part of the problem with some of these denials and not taking the time to make sure that things are accurate, complete on the front end. And it always, that's probably why things get missed, because no one is actually taking the time to actually do those additional steps to verify and make sure it's the right leg versus the left leg. I mean, something as simple as as that, because nobody really went back and looked to see, well, wait, let's verify which leg is it. They're just going. Now, on the other end, because a lot of organizations have made this process productivity or production based, it causes folks to feel compelled to, I gotta churn this stuff out. I gotta make sure I meet the productivity goals. I gotta make sure. And I understand the productivity goals to one degree, but I believe accuracy should trump productivity every day, all day. It should be accurate. And if somebody needs that additional time to make sure, and like even in the article said, at some point your speed will increase. If you're new, this is going to take some time, and prayerfully you're given the grace to be able to learn these steps and master these steps as you proceed through your coding career. And so you're not hounded like, oh, you need to do this, you need to do that. Oh my God, you didn't have enough. Oh my God, unfortunately, this may not be the position for you, and then you are let go. I pray that is not the situation, and that these people who are in management or in charge understand the intricate process that is involved with coding. Yeah, you may be in management, and yeah, you may not be coding today, but you coded before. You know what it is. You know what it was about. It doesn't go away. It only gets more. There's only more, because again, we have new technologies, new technique, new thought process. It's only more. And just especially if you haven't coded in a while, you would have to do the same. It would take a lot of time for you to do the same work as a coder who is coding on a daily basis. Even more so, because you may not even be familiar with some of the things that are currently happening, some of the procedures that are currently happening, some of the new diagnoses that are out there that have been discovered. So I think grace needs to happen here, and we really need to pay attention and allow the time and space for people to do the coding job, to be able to think like a coder. Okay, to be able to think like a coder, and to be able to, process these steps, do these steps without fear of losing their position or fear of meeting a productivity goal. Go ahead, Mr. Jesse.
You said something that was key. When you said you and people who are in management now used to code. See, that's the problem. A lot of them have never done it.
Ever.
People now come right out of school and they have their RHIA and RHIT, which is great, but that's just like somebody going to school and becoming a nurse. You pass the board, you get your license, but you never practice, and you go into nursing management. So the day-to-day you know nothing about. And what's happening in HIM happened in nursing about 20 years ago, when they put such an emphasis on titles versus the work, because there was a time in nursing where you worked your way up. Everybody started out at the same place regardless of whatever your credential was. So when you moved up into management, then when you sit in the meetings and they're talking about staffing, you can speak to specifically what it is you need or what needs to be done to have certain outcomes. And when it comes to, because these productivity standards now in coding are a fool. And it's because these people have never done it, and they sit up and they listen to these people who run these reports. Well, how come people can't do 4 cases an hour? Well, right now they do 3.2. Well, how come they can't do 4? Well, if they do 4, then we can get the bill faster. We can get, but what happened to accuracy?
Exactly.
And all that gets thrown out the window when you have people who have never done what you do trying to tell you what to do. I'm telling you, like, the same thing happened. This is why nursing is what it is now. And HIM is going down that same road, because you have people who are in the wrong spaces. You have the wrong people up there talking to the people in the suits with their little laptops, thinking that it's all about numbers. No, it's not. You have to have people in place who know what they're doing. You have to give them the space, the time, and the resources to do what they do and do it well. That's all. I'm off my.
Wait, not they suits and they little laptop. Wait, but I saw this and I thought I was gonna fall out my chair. Clyde and Susan, did y'all stop? I so agree. I don't know. It's been my experience, particularly in management positions, that you get an understanding of what your frontline people are doing. How can you help? How can you manage? How can you provide them with the tools they need to be successful if you have no idea what is going on and what people are doing? That's like the first line. Not only are you getting to know the people and their style and how they achieve, because ultimately the goal is the patient. The goal is making sure that you accurately describe and depict what has happened to this patient because of the condition that the patient has at the end of the day. But how can you know what the processes are or the talents are, even if your group, if you don't know what these people are doing? Because if you sat down with somebody and said, well, I'm just gonna shadow you, show me what your day looks like, show me how you get through these cases, and you collect that data from person to person to person. Yeah, it takes time, but trust and believe that time is well worth the investment. Because then you know your people, you know your group, you know what they will need, you know where the gaps are, you know where the strengths are, you know how to impart the ultimate objective for the particular group. And yeah, it may not necessarily be we got to get 80 charts out a day per person. Maybe we say as a group collectively we'll get out whatever. And you got some that are stronger in one area versus another area, and you all work together as a team. But at the end of the day, you want to make sure that these charts are done correctly, that they are accurately coded. Go ahead, Mr. Justin.
Case in point, early this week, I had a case. This person came from a nursing home and had 22 bed sores. Then they were taken to the OR, and some of them, well, actually, most of them were unstable. Well, most of them, a lot of them were unstable when they got to the hospital. So they take them to the OR. 10 of them were surgically debrided. This person ended up with 10 stage 4 pressure ulcers. So now an inpatient, because I still haven't coded all of the unstageables, because I'm like, stage 4s, you want to, you know how it is with pressure ulcers. Like, they can really wreck your reimbursement if they're not identified properly.
Right.
So I had to go through to make sure that all of them were identified, because even the unstageable ones, even though they came in with it being unstageable, you still have to code the unstageable ones because they were present on admission. And then, of course, the stage 4s will still be considered present on admission after the debridement. But you know how long it took me to do that? And then, of course, all of the pressure ulcers that were debrided weren't clearly identified in the PCS table. So I'm chatting folks. Well, what should I code this? What body part does this go to? So it's like it takes time to be done accurately, because you can go ahead and rush it through, and then when you get slammed, 3 months down the line, after when these people say, oh no, you owe us, all, you got to run us our money back. What did it get you?
Right.
That's it.
And I agree. Stop thinking and hoping and wishing and praying that somebody gonna connect it or correct it on the back end. No. Just like we telling them to do their job, do your job. Code it correctly. Let's see, what did she say? Crafty Coder says, making people run through the note. When I was in the production side, I used to bang it out, but that's because I learned to speed read like a mug. And your accuracy got to be 95% or higher. Right. And so, and you're, to your point, there are oftentimes accuracy metrics along with productivity. And I'm like, is that, I don't know. I'm confused. She's like, that's why she likes AR. She's like, I was in a management meeting and they wanted 6 charts an hour. I was like, wait, what? Hell no. That's crazy. That's a lot. Especially depending on the specialty, the case mix, the how sick the patients are. I mean, that's a whole lot to ask for. I don't understand. She said, I blame the employers for not looking for practical knowledge. Senior VP never had to take a coding test. They just took her word. Oh my goodness. Oh, let's see. I agree with you, Clarice, but unfortunately we live in a time where quality work has gone out the window. And that is so crazy. That is crazy. But if you pay attention to the OIG and some of these reports and these repayments and all of that. No, it's not gone out the window. They paying for it. They're paying for it on the back end. And that's unfortunate when a lot of this could be avoided if they really took the time and did the quality work that needs to be done. So you rather pay for it out your pocket to the government versus, being able to hold on to what the payment was initially, because you had folks who did accurate quality coding. And we can't forget the documentation piece. All of those things. That's just crazy. It's crazy. I don't understand. Yes, sir.
This is maybe like a future topic, but but what we need to talk about, and it all kind of ties in indirectly, but what we need to talk about is how Florida has this law now where if you are a provider in Florida, you can't store your records outside of the United States.
You can't.
I don't necessarily see as a bad thing because I've always been against.
I'm like, well, where are you taking the records? Or they live across the border or something? I mean, I'm trying to understand what.
Well, they have all the.
Oh, I'm sorry. Wait. Stop talking. Okay, go ahead.
I guess there's no law that is stopping people from storing, records in other countries that might be cheaper. But I'm just not for outsourcing any medical information, period, because HIPAA doesn't apply to the Philippines. HIPAA doesn't apply to India. That's international. And I just don't believe that people's personal information should be that vulnerable. I don't.
Well, yeah, she said, man, I'm moving it. My bad. For you Clubhouse people. Man, the OIG just did a case for $338,000. They petty, no claim too big or small. No. And they lucky it's just that. It could have been worse. Yeah, we could definitely do, let's talk about this whole outsourcing thing. I'm sure. Yeah. I'm sure that's going to be some tea spilled on that particular topic, because folks are feeling some kind of way regarding the outsourcing. And yeah, so I will definitely look into that. Put that on the docket. Put that on the docket. All right. We are at the top of the hour. Look how time just flew. Okay. All right. So hopefully as a result of our discussion and conversations today and our dialogue, thank you everyone who participated. Appreciate it. Love it. Always a good time when we're here together and sharing our opinions and thoughts on the topic of the day. So thank you again for joining the Saturday Morning Tea, or checking out the replay. Let me just ask, was the tea spilled today? I think so. Wait a minute. Go ahead.
Most definitely, as always.
Oh, goodness. Yes. So if this information was valuable for you, help us share this message with others by sharing the video and subscribing to the Professional Reimbursement Network channel. Be sure to follow us for more information on all things health information, compliance, revenue cycle, and of course, medical coding. And as you leave, don't forget to hit the thumbs up or like button. And last but certainly not least, also check out the Coding Nurse YouTube channel as well. Lots of gems are dropped over there. Mr. Jesse, do you have any final thoughts or final words?
No, but I just wanted to read a comment from Mami Picasso from Clubhouse.
Okay.
And she said, unfortunately, that's the situation. You have 2 weeks to catch up or you are let go from the project. And that's exactly true. And I think I might have shared this story before, but really quickly, I was working on an HCC project. And I went to my manager because I'm like, they're telling us that we have this productivity requirement, but I'm asking questions and nobody's getting back to me or if they get back to me, it's like 2-3 days later. So I said, I don't want them to say that I'm not meeting productivity. So apparently other people were giving them the feedback, but I must have been the first one to initiate it. So she was like, well, let's set up, how about if I set up a meeting? I said, oh, that'd be great. Well, how about the day before the meeting, she calls and tells me that the client was terminating me for lack of productivity. But it gets better. They said that because of my lack of productivity, they weren't going to pay me for my last week. And do you know I had to file a wage claim violation with the state of Arizona to get my money?
Oh my goodness. Wow. That's crazy. That's crazy. And I know you were filing all kinds of papers. I can only imagine. They didn't know what hit them and what they were dealing with.
I called all.
Oh, wait a minute. It's me. Okay, go ahead.
I said, I called all over this country. I called Washington. I called Pennsylvania. And the people of Washington, I think either Washington or Pennsylvania told me I had to file in Arizona because that was the place where the company was based. I was on it.
Oh my!
I mean, because I am the king of receipts. I don't delete anything. I don't delete no emails, no text message, especially when it comes to work. Nothing. I had a whole dossier ready. I got my money.
I know you did. I love it. King of receipts. I love it. We probably share the same throne because I keep a receipt. I keep a receipt. Oh God. Okay. Well, thank you, Mr. Jesse, for sharing that additional story. Thank you for all the Clubhouse folks who also participated even through chat. I love it. You can still ask your questions and participate with us via chat. It was great. So again, this has been a great session today. Thank you all for joining. We will have our meeting after the meeting. Remember, be safe, be kind, and don't wish for it, work for it. Until next time, take care. Have a great weekend.
Bye-bye.